We begin tonight with that horrifying scene playing out today at the Mall of America. Authorities say a stranger threw a 5-year-old boy over a third-floor balcony.
Someone just fell from the third floor to the first floor.
And right then I said, I was just telling the devil to take his hands off him. He's not going to take him. Landon's going to live and not die.
Why don't you tell us exactly what happened?
As we were going through the parking lot, I got an overwhelming feeling all over my body, just tingles. I just felt something's wrong. Pray.
So you knew that immediately?
Immediately.
Something's wrong, pray.
I just stopped and I prayed for heavenly angels to come before us, go before us as we walk through the mall, and to protect us everywhere that we went. Even though I felt that, and I maybe should have listened to that feeling, I didn't because I wanted them to go have fun.
I see.
As we walked through the mall, I just prayed under my breath in tongues because I learned that growing up.
So you still had that urge
Yes.
in you to keep praying. Did you always pray about angels?
No, I didn't. I don't know if I ever have. I just, that day,
Wow, that just came up out of you.
yes. We were standing on that rock there at the Rainforest Cafe where there's an alligator, and this stranger just came up and leaned over the rock right next to Landon and his friend, and he was whispering to them. And then I said, "Oh, do you work here? Are you going to turn it on?" And he said, "No, you're fine, you're fine." I was in arm's length. I was right next to him. He made me trust him. He looked at me, he smiled at me. I trusted him. He told me I was okay, that it was just fine. In that 1 second, he picked him up under the armpit and just chucked him. I just screamed. I screamed, "No, devil." Because I just felt, I knew that it was a spiritual attack. It wasn't this man. He had nothing to do with us. He didn't know us. He didn't know Landon. I felt like he was there. The devil was on a mission. As I got down there was one woman standing there at the end, and this woman pointed, "He's right there." So I went over to him and I picked him up, and she screamed, "No, put him down. You have to put him down." 2 other nurses came and immediately started CPR on Landon, chest compressions and CPR. And right then I said, I was just telling the devil to take his hands off him. He's not going to take him. Landon's going to live and not die. One time that I did look up and there was people all over, they were all staring, and I just yelled up to them, "What are you staring at? Pray, pray." The nurses doing chest compressions would say, "We got a heartbeat." And I'd say, "Yes, we got a heartbeat." And then they would say, "We have a breath." And I'd say, "Yes, we have a breath." And I was just totally focused on that, and that was it.
Well, what did they tell you at the hospital, Carrie? And did they think Landon would live?
I mean,
What did they
when we
have to
first
say?
got there, you go into like a save your life room right away. All these doctors told me that they are not usually just there. They get called in when there's something that happens.
Yeah.
Every doctor that Landon needed was there and ready. And I stood on a chair in that operating room and I prayed for those doctors to put him back together and nothing's gonna be broken and everything's gonna be perfect. And I was loud, and one doctor yelled out, "If you don't need to be talking, we don't want you talking." And I said, "Well, I need to be talking." They got him all stabilized. They wheeled him away. My parents had just got there. And then in the hallway, I just fell to the floor. I said, "I forgive that man," because I knew that if I didn't, that God couldn't move. I was taught to forgive right away because, yes, we need God to be able to move. And if you're holding any unforgiveness inside of your heart, that God doesn't have room to do what he needs to do. And I needed God to have room.
Hi, Landon. Are you waking up a little bit?
But he did just breathe 3 hours on his own, which he didn't do last night. So that was a big test that he just passed.
Yeah, no, he did great.
Yeah. April 24th.
We've been in here 12 days. This is the last peaceful sleep before we wake up and get the breathing tube out. You got it, Landon! You got it! You got it! You got it! Good job! Yay, Landon!
So having grown up in a Christian home, being part of Living Word's church family,
Yes.
how did your background impact your response after Landon was thrown over the balcony?
Yes, I grew up in this church since I was a baby. I was on the puppet team, so I knew how to.
I remember that.
I knew how to speak in tongues. We did it all the time there. And my dad does it all the time in the basement and walking around, and you want to, I just grew up in that. I knew I didn't really do it myself, but when I needed to do it, it just came.
It was there.
It was there.
I had one prayer group that was Landen. So every morning I would get a report, and your dad would actually, and all the whole time your dad was standing on the resurrection power scripture.
Could you feel the tangible support of the prayers of others and the church and other people that loved you and were in agreement with you? Could you feel it?
I could totally feel it. When I was in there, and I would just text a certain amount of people what I needed prayers for, and they would send it out to people, and Landen would be in a surgery, and I knew people were praying. And so I could just line up with their thoughts and just stay there.
Were the doctors and the staff positive because of your insistence
I think
on
so.
keeping it straight?
Yes. Whenever they came in and had a funny look that I didn't like, they would say, "It looks," and I'd say, "Perfect." And so they started coming in saying, "It looks perfect." But
Carrie, how long was Landen in the hospital altogether?
he was in the hospital for 4 months. We went in April and we came home in August, and I was determined to have him go to kindergarten on the first day of school in September. And we made it. I wanted to get home in July, but we made it the week before kindergarten, and he went to kindergarten. Today, they all say that he is a miracle, that they have never seen something like this happen. This is God's story. This is not his story.
Walking on my way to baseball, even though snow's on the ground, because it's baseball season, bro.
Look at me, Lan. Baseball?
Baseball.
And even though it's snowing.
Even though it's snowing.
Say batter up.
Batter's up.